When you're in your 40s or younger, your ability to balance is usually really good, and you don't even have to work at it. That starts to change in your 50s, and that's when your ability to balance can start rapidly declining, especially if you aren't doing anything about it. Because we all know the body works and functions on the use it or lose it principle. And with balance, that kicks in your 50s. And as if aging isn't fun enough, poor balance has been linked to cognitive decline, greater risk of falls and serious injury from them, and even premature death. So that's why balance is so important to work on, especially starting about in your 40s. So I'm going to show you some exercises you can do to help you train your balance. But before we get to that, I want to explain a little about balance because I really want you to get it and understand why this is so important. So balance is much more than just standing on one leg. That alone isn't even really a functional thing we do in our daily lives. Good balance is all about how efficiently you move your body through space in any activity you might be doing. So taking groceries from the car, going up a flight of stairs. So your ability to balance comes from the connection between your brain, your nervous system, and your muscles. So you need a strong mind-body communication to be able to balance well. And that's driven specifically by two things, your proprioception and your vestibular system, which is based around your inner ear. So you've got proprioceptors in your joints and your muscles, and they're like a sixth sense. They let you know where you are in space. Your proprioceptors relay information from your body to your brain, and that's how we do everything we do. Even me just standing here without thinking about it, that's proprioception. And as we age, though, the communication between our body and our mind dulls, so our proprioception dulls. And the same goes for your vestibular system in your inner ear, which provides a sense of balance based on the movement of your head. So that's going to dull as we age too. And since I already mentioned that the ability to balance depends on those two things, proprioception and vestibular system, that right there is why our balance declines and why it's so important to focus on training it regularly. Because use it or lose it is very, very real. So now that I've got it on your radar as something you're super excited to start training regularly, right? Let's go over some balance exercises you can easily do anywhere. So you're going to want to find a line. And if you're outside, perhaps there's a concrete joint like the one I have here. Or if you're inside, maybe there's a line in your tiles or your hardwood floors. Or just imagine you've got a line. That's going to work too. So shoes, they can be on or off, but if you can, off is good so your foot gets more natural movement. You can decide though. And I'm going to start with some easier tasks for seniors and beginners, and then we're going to build to some challenging tasks for more advanced exercises. Anyone with compromised balance, please do these along a wall. Hold on to stay safe. And now let's get to balancing. So let's start with a good old heel to toe balance on a line. And I want to explain why we're working on a line for all these tasks. So using a line is a more efficient way to train your coordination because it calls for your brain to use the visual input it's receiving to make sure you're placing your foot accurately. So it's a great way to train that communication I mentioned earlier between your body and your mind. And the second exercise I started here is a high knee step over. So imagine you're stepping over some sort of low hurdle. And do try these step overs with both short strides and long strides to give yourself even more of a challenge. The third balance task, you're going to stand sideways on the line, and again, imagine you're stepping over something. So the slower you go, the more challenging it is, because that means you're having to stabilize on one leg for a longer time. So go slow on all these tasks. And for the fourth balance, you're doing heel-toe walks, only backwards this time. And since we don't really do anything backwards, this one might feel surprisingly awkward. So make sure you're landing on the line with each step. And this is going to call on more of your proprioception since you can't see where you're stepping. So it's an excellent proprioception training tool. For the fifth task, you're sideways again, and this time you're crossing your trailing leg over your lead leg. And this requires crossing your midline, which is something we especially want to train as we age, since it requires both sides of our brains to be activated to complete the move. And make sure you go both directions on these. For the sixth task, tiptoe walking, you've really got two options here. You can either try taking slow, small steps, or you can do inchworm feet, which is basically, it just means keeping the same foot in front as you work your way down the line. For balance number 7, you're going to plant one foot on the line while you tap the other foot forward and back. You're never shifting your weight to the moving leg, you're only gently tapping. So imagine there's a puddle of water and you're just testing the temperature. And the next balance is another sideways balance where you'll be crossing your midline. You've got one foot planted while the other taps the line on each side. Make sure you've got your core tightened, and then, of course, make sure you do both sides. For balance 9, now we're getting to the harder stuff. Anyone who knows the Warrior 3 yoga pose, we're doing a move similar to that, and then stepping forward with the back leg and repeating the move on the other side. So it's basically making a Warrior 3 move into a walk. Beginners, don't lift your back leg very high, and also don't bend over as much as I'm doing. Balance 10 is another backwards move. You're going to lift one leg forward, and I want to stress lift here. So this isn't a kick. And then you're going to step it on the line backwards, continuing in that manner down your line. Balance 11 is going to challenge your vestibular system since you're leaning your head sideways while standing on one leg. And then you're going into a crossover step, repeating the pattern as you work your way down the line. And make sure you go in both directions. I really love this next balance. You'll want something soft under your knee though. So place your back knee on the line with the heel of your front foot directly on the line and in front of your knee. And make sure your trunk is upright and you have good posture. Then challenge yourself by rotating left and right. Balance 13 is a super fun, though harder than it looks, line crawl. You want to keep your hands and feet in contact with the line as you go. And it helps to go slow and really pay attention to each step you take. For an extra challenge, you can even try going backwards too. And for the final balance challenge, you'll place your hands and feet on the line in a right, left order. Then take your inside hand and rotate it upward. Then place it back down and do about 10 repetitions and then repeat the move on the other side. So there you have it, 14 balance tasks you can incorporate into your workouts. Feel free to leave comments or questions over on the corresponding write-up. There'll be a link to find that in the YouTube description. Thanks for watching, everyone, and keep working on that balance.